Bede Durbidge, Connor Coffin. Exciting.
It's going to be a good one. Bede Durbidge making a full return now to competition. We saw him briefly at the Pipe Masters, a very strong performance over there in Hawaii. Also had that screw that kept his pelvis in place during that break, and he had that removed just prior to the season kicking off. So his comeback has been remarkable. Connor Coffin also recovering from injury. Both these guys feeling the pinch at Pipeline.
And he's surfing amazing.
So movement here at the takeoff zone. This is Bede Durbidge, a former finalist in this contest. And he's lost nothing. He's really worked hard.
You know, evenings and then that warming up really quickly, it sucks that onshore breeze on, and here we are dealing with it.
Well, here we go. Connor Coffin gets an opportunity to get the jump on Bede Durbidge early. Nice carve to get started. Has those clean rail turns on lock as he drives off the bottom once again. Committing to those full rail turns and hoping for some steeper sections to mix things up here. Lost him for a moment. So a little trickier for the surfers with this added bump on the face. But this will be the best of that opening exchange as Connor still works away at it and calls for the ski. Would take this heat. Have you got a thought on that?
Well, I was actually gonna disagree, but you know a lot about this sport. As we see that first turn, beautiful hack, and that is trademark Connor Coffin. But I feel like Connor definitely could give a run to Bede Durbidge. And with his finals that he was able to do last year, or his final, he had some flashes of brilliance, big time. That runner-up position that he had in Portugal really helped out his cause. He was sitting in the bubble there. Started off the year amazing. You can see all that chop on the face there. He had to negotiate it. He did well with it, though. And it's going to be an all right score.
5.17 for Connor Coffin for that first ride. We'll see it again from the takeoff. This is the drone angle.
But really, the first part of that wave is really where the score came from, that first initial carve. Although his flow was nice through this inside section, even with all the bump on the face. But I feel like those second waves of the set are going to be key, in finding those waves, especially because they'll, as Strider mentioned, draft the other first bigger wave. Those wind swells in that kind of shorter interval, you'll find that kind of vibe happen all over the world, where you'll get those second waves to kind of draft the first one set wave.
Bede Durbidge went down on the takeoff, out the back, change up from Connor. He had his knee heavily strapped in the first round. Sometimes that can be a bit restrictive. He had some trouble with that strapping during the heat. This time he's just gone for a bit of a band-aid over that scar tissue on the knee. In the off-season, a new sponsor leaving the Hurley stable to join Rip Curl. And here we go. This is Connor now. Has some speed on this section. Nice release on that first turn. Slid across the coping beautifully. Bede Durbidge chasing him down the line at the moment. So Bede getting the second wave of the set. Let's see if it's a little cleaner out there on the open face for Durbidge as Connor kicks off on the inside, and Durbidge with a rare mistake.
Watched him through his amateur ranks. Truly amazing surfer. Very mature beyond his years. Let's see what happened to Bede here. Good looking wave, it was a tiny bit smoother, not a lot. It was still a bigger wave. And here it kind of gets into the foam, but again, smooths out. Goes in and just off kilter. Went for that bottom turn, maybe thinking a little too far ahead. But a mistake there, definitely for Bede Durbidge, as you see the big drift from Connor Coffin again. First wave of the set, so it pushes out the bank slightly. But he was able to get that first initial turn, which was committed in the lip. This midsection a little soft, but here it starts to load back up again. So another kind of mediocre score there for Connor.
From way back in the 60s, Michael Peterson, Wayne Dean, Peter Druin, Joe Engel, Munga Barry.
And it's been, part of the surfing history forever. A lot of it's got to do with the wave quality and the surfers that are involved.
So Connor, keep him busy. Chipping away, no major scores locked in just yet, but he's establishing a bit of a lead. We'll see if this one factors in. We're just under 16 minutes to go. Connor just looking a little more relaxed in this heat. That was a nice finish to a sleepy ride. It'll leave a good taste in the judges' mouths.
Again, I think that we've seen a bit of a trend with the surfers that have been kind of catching a lot more waves, have been able to kind of turn these heats.
Here goes Durbidge. Just pacing himself through the opening stages of this ride. There's a nice clean section to dig into, a big full rail carve. Mixing things up down the line now, kicking the tail there. And again, just winding through another couple of wraps on the inside. It'll be Bede's best wave. He had a 4.9 prior to that one.
He was right in the middle of the pack, but then his surfing and his style translated to the championship tour with ease, and he's been there. Don't believe he's ever even fallen off the tour. It's been on that entire season. No worries qualifying. As you see this wave, another one that is kind of the second wave of the set, a little smoother on the face. Executing those turns, nice and smooth, nice mix. A different style and approach with each turn. So smart. Bede knows that criteria.
Definitely. Connor Coffin, here's the replay of his last ride.
So a little smaller wave, but again, attacking the lip on that outside section. A little sleepier through this mid part, but he stays with it. You know, now that we have this jet ski assist, it makes it a lot easier to kind of commit to these waves all the way to the inside, because you don't have that nice long paddle to just jump on the machine. Good start, good finish. You see this end section here. This is where you let the judges know at the very end. Exclamation, whack.
Love it. It was moves like that that saw Connor Coffin fetch some pretty big numbers last year. Granted, those moves in 2016 were performed on much bigger waves, but it's just, cheers Kaipo. Kaipo looking good. A couple of excellent numbers in his round 2 effort. And disposing of the rookie, Juan Daru, as we see Bede Durbidge up. He's moved into the lead. His last ride, a 6.43. Has a good looking wall here. That one just a bit too much foam on the face. Looked like it was going to fatten up a little bit too. It's a close one. He's up against Connor Coffin, one of the star rookies from 2016. And Connor not chasing much at this stage of the game to get into the lead, but here goes Bede Durbidge once again. A couple of nice sections to deal with at the opening stage of this ride. This wave's starting to flatten out a little bit. Bede will pace himself through to the inside and bash it once again. Bit of an onshore flow coming up, making the wall of these waves a little bumpy.
With the wind and the tide, going to create a little bit more difficult little lineup.
A meaty first turn there from Connor Coffin. Very committed. Unfortunately, that wave just did not transpire into anything down the line. He'll kick out. Richie gave up his spot on the championship tour to get surgery, and Bede got the call up, used it to good effect, got some great experience. Last year, Bede with a hip injury. He was forced off the schedule and opened up a spot. And well, that spot was put to good use.
Well, this is Bede's last wave, and a great wave choice. I mean, it gave him opportunity, even though it wasn't an easy wave to surf. I think Connor needs to be really careful here. He's got priority, and he's going to pull the trigger on the first wave of the set.
Let's see what he can do with it. So mixing things up a little bit. Layback snap to get started, but maintaining a nice down the line flow. Trying to keep some speed and just sticking with the white water here, hoping he gets that double up bonus on the inside. Looks like he will. And again, just tries to throw everything at the end section, but incomplete this time. 30 seconds to go, and Connor's going to have a shot at this one. So with second priority, he'll dig into this first turn, but this wave, it really was just a takeoff.
And Bede saw that, so he wasn't going to utilize his priority there to make a mistake. Let him take it, although it did create some separation, so let's see what happens here.
So Connor gets another shot at it. The clock is winding down, just 5 seconds remaining as he throws down the turn of the heat so far. and again digs in. We saw Jeremy Flores turn a heat in similar circumstances. Bede Durbidge also up behind Connor. He's chipping away, and he'll be digging in, I think, aware that Connor let go of a decent turn. There was a huge roar from the crowd as Durbidge brings this one right through to the inside, and Connor might just make the veteran pay here.
I mean, it is. It's only a 6.83.
Well, that woke us up.
It did, right? That was the best surfing we saw this entire heat. I was kind of trying to say, hey, well, Bede kind of like said, oh, I'm going to let that one go, but it actually created a little bit of separation, and it gave the ability of Connor to pick it up. We're going to watch Bede first and see what he done on the outside as he carves twice. And, you know, this one just didn't load up as much through the end section, although he got some work done, trying to improve on a mid-6.
Probably
I don't know.
Similar score, really, if anything.
But I mean, when you get that wow factor we're going to see from Connor Coffin, you'd almost say that it is looking like to be the best wave of the heat.
There was a couple of big, juicy turns on Connor's wave. Let's have another look at it. It's a nice steep wall. The wave's not that big, but have a look at these two major maneuvers.
And that's that combination right here. Lays into it, slides, pulls it off, and just, you know, there wasn't really any hesitation, and then just lays in there with the rail. And a third, really, the third turn too. And even the fourth. I mean, those were a 4-turn combo, and he's looking there.
He's not giving himself a 4 there. That was double shuckers. Connor Coffin.
4 times 2.
8.33, the best wave of the heat. There was quality turns there. We knew he had it in him. He only was chasing a mid-range 6, so there wasn't much separating he and Bede, but Bede will be... Hey. That is so rare that Bede lets a wave go like that in the end.
And I wouldn't say that was necessarily Bede's mistake, really, because it was just enough to create the separation, and then all of a sudden the ocean provided this last little effort for him, and it ended up being the best, you know, canvas that Connor had the whole heat.
So waiting on the numbers.
So he needs a 7.81 as they're watching the replay here, and you know, this ended up having to be the best wave of the heat, and I just don't see it.
7.81 required. Numbers starting to roll through, and it is in at a 5.3, so not enough for Bede Durbidge. Pete Mel on the money. Connor Coffin getting the win, moving through to round 3. Another big heat coming up shortly. We can't wait to see this one unfold. It's going to be last year's semi-finalist Stu Kennedy up against Ethan Ewing. There are the heat score totals for you on screen. 14.23 for the Californian.
How good does that feel?